This is my apartment complex on fire, and I, at the time of recording this, am right here, upstairs on the second floor, living my life without a care in the world. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. Well, today, I'm going to share with you a nightmare story that happened to me and the shocking drama of it all. But sit back and relax because this story is a bit of a doozy. It's just a regular night for me. It's around 6 p.m. and I'm working on a YouTube video when all of a sudden, my fire alarm goes off. That's weird, I'm thinking. Because you see, sometimes my alarm will go off if I'm burning food while cooking or something, but I was not cooking anything. And sometimes the steam from the shower can also set off the alarm, but I also hadn't taken a shower that day. All I'm saying is that I'm no stranger to my fire alarm accidentally being tripped from time to time. So at this point, it was a little strange, but nothing out of the usual. I go to fan the alarm so that it turns off. But that's when I realized something even weirder was going on. You see, I have 3 fire alarms. One is located near the kitchen, one in my bedroom, and then one in my office. And it was oddly the alarm in my bedroom that was going off. Something that has never happened as long as I've lived here. But I just make a quick mental note, fan it until it turns off, and then I get back to work. But as soon as I get back to my computer, maybe 6 or 7 footsteps away, my bedroom fire alarm goes off yet again. And now for sure, I know something abnormal is happening. My senses are now heightened, and I've entered the beginning stages of fight or flight mode. I re-enter the bedroom, but this time I can smell smoke. It's very obvious. I walk over to my window to see if I can see anything, and I can't see a damn thing, just straight black. And now I know this is why the fire alarm was going off. Smoke was coming through the window and the fire alarm was trying to alert me. I am now in full fight or flight mode. I quickly throw on some sweats and go outside, and that is when I see a billowing black smoke coming from the first floor. I live on the second floor at the end of a hallway for context, but I also can hear my neighbors freaking out. I walk to the end of the stairwell and finally I can see a fire, and it's a big fire. So I run back in to find my phone, and thanks to the fight or flight, my memory of the last place I put my phone was completely wiped. So it took me a good 2 to 3 minutes to find it, something which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, given the circumstances, but I eventually find it and immediately start to dial 911. All the while, I'm going around the other side of the building to investigate what the hell happened. I tell the situation to the fire department over the phone, give them the address, and now they're on their way. All good. But then I realize, wait a second, only me and my immediate neighbor know about this because our windows face the fire. And so I go and knock on all my neighbors' doors to alert them to evacuate. And at this point, I feel like there's nothing more that I can do other than just record some video and watch my car burn. And I will say, it's unfortunate that my car burned and I wish it didn't happen, but the real scary part was thinking about how bad it could be if the fire reached the top part of the apartment, because that's where I live and that's where all of my stuff is. Luckily, I don't live that far from the fire department and they showed up within 10 to 15 minutes. They end up putting the fire out with no damage to the actual structure of the building. Thank Gaia. The fire department clears us to go back into our spaces, and thankfully everything for the most part on the inside was untouched. The only thing I'll say was pretty bad is that it smelled heavily like smoke for days. We're over a month out at this point and I can still smell the smoke after returning from being gone after a while. However, if you think the story ends here, oh boy, you are pleasantly mistaken. The nightmare has only just begun. But before we get to that, I want to quickly talk about the cause of the fire. So what happened? Well, this is my hypothesis based on everything I've gathered surrounding this event, and it goes like this. There is a homeless man in the area who is always strung out on some amphetamine. Over the summer, this individual breaks into my car and steals my wallet that I left in there. The one and only time that I left my wallet in my car in the 3 years living here, I got hit. Grab me some charity, alright? But anywho, I'm a little salty about it, but whatever, I replace my window and I move on with my life. A month or 2 later, the same person breaks into my neighbor's car to the right of me, but they actually catch him in the act, but he gets away with it. They replace their window, and again, we all move on. Then about 8 months later from that, he then breaks into the neighbor's car to the left of me. But this time, this neighbor didn't replace their window, leaving open access to the vehicle. Which, I mean, the average person might think, sure, this may not be the most ideal for weather reasons, but so long as I don't keep anything valuable in here, what is the worst that could possibly go wrong? Well, that same person hatched a very evil plan to set the car on fire, allowing for the fire to spread as bad as it did. Also, an important note to add here is that there have been other fires in the area, and that this individual fits the description for the suspect in those other arsons as well. But I had talked to the police about it, and they told me that when it comes to arson, you need actual evidence like video or eyewitness for the DA to pick up prosecution charges. This individual is still at large. Okay, but now back to the story, alright? Now, listen, okay? I've never been a part of an apartment fire before. I have no idea what the next steps are for this type of thing. So I was asking myself, what do I do next? Well, for starters, my car was totaled, but who is responsible to replace it? In terms of my involvement in everything, all I did was just park my car in the spot that I paid for and went on my daily routine. It's not my fault some random person arsoned my car. Surely my landlords have some measures to protect against this, right?
Nope. They essentially said it is not their problem. In fact, it is my vehicle, therefore it's my responsibility to replace it. And I mean, sure, this makes sense, but god damn does it suck. And some of you in the comments are probably screaming out the big two words, and yes, I had friends and family that nagged me for not having renter's insurance. Evidently, if I had renter's insurance, I might have been able to cover my car and more, but where the hell do you learn this type of stuff? They never taught me this in school.
But anywho, my car is now totaled and I can no longer use the car. It's practically trash now. And so I'm thinking, well, it'll stay there till I get a new car. I mean, it is an older BMW after all, so I can probably part it out and turn some sort of profit from this. But just a few days later, my landlord tells me that they need the car moved in 2 days from now. They want to start renovating. And my immediate question from this was, I mean, I'm happy to hear that, but who is responsible to move it? And evidently, I was. And I kind of took issue with this.
As you can imagine, nothing in this world is free. Someone is gonna have to pay for the tow truck to come and move it. So I tell them, I refuse to spend my money due to your schedule, due to the lack of relief that you've offered. And this went back and forth for about a week. Then they finally offered to cover tow truck costs.
But the problem is that I have a second vehicle in the garage that also needs to be moved, but doesn't run. So who is responsible for the storage fees after I move this vehicle? Well, they again said that I was responsible. Whoa, now wait a second. You mean to tell me that not only are you not willing to lower rent as a compromise, you also want me to pay some off-site lot to store my car? Yeah, no thanks. Respectfully, I'm not moving anything. But eventually they called me and offered to cover both towing and storage fees. This was a huge mistake, but we'll return to this later. But on that same exact day, I find a company that picks up totaled cars for free and sells it for scraps, and they also helped me move my second car to a storage lot. And my landlord began renovations the very next day.
There were a couple of WTF interactions with the landlords following this, but 6 to 7 weeks later, things were finally starting to settle down and return to normal. They were slowly working on renovating the apartment. I could park in the spot that I'm paying for a couple days out of the week. The apartment only barely smelled like smoke at this point. Things were alright. But then they delivered the biggest slap in the face I have ever felt.
They sent me a letter saying that I can either A, sign onto a 1-year lease, or B, pay $500 more a month without a lease. Now, I was already paying $2,200 for a 2-bedroom, and they wanted to jump it all the way up to $2,700 a month. And that is not including utilities and beyond. And also, mind you, I am still racking up storage fees.
And in case it's not obvious, this is essentially a get the hell out of here letter. A $500 monthly rent increase is insane. This is them basically saying, look, you've been quite a headache during this whole fire debacle, so you can either A, trap yourself in signing your lease with us, giving us power to do whatever we want with the renovations, and you have no right to complain because you're on a year lease. Or B, overpay us if you want to keep on complaining. Or C, you have 30 days to get the hell out of here so we don't have to deal with you anymore. Mind you, they still haven't covered the tow or storage costs yet. And also, this is what the place looked like when I got this letter. Trash is overflowing every other day. I don't have access to park in the spot I've been paying for on most days. Mold is growing in the kitchen due to rain leaks. There's also some deformed walls due to rain leaks as well. The kitchen countertops are peeling off. I can't open my window due to it getting cracked by the fire. The floorboards have large gaps in them. In fact, I've seen with my own 2 eyes over the years, several mice go up under those gaps and never be seen again. Now, to be fair, most of the stuff I can live with. Seeing a few Houdini mice from time to time doesn't scare me. But not when you're looking to raise the rent by $1,000, yo. And so now that brings us to present day, and I'm moving. And it's just so annoying because I had finally gotten to the groove of making a video a month, and now I have to pause everything to frantically move all of my stuff. But look, despite everything that I've just detailed, I'm no fool, alright? I know that my fellow Californians will live in a shoebox if they have to in order to stay here. And so my landlords will undoubtedly find someone who's more than happy to pay more for this apartment. But they won't be passing those renovation costs off to me. And no. I'm moving to an even worse housing market, Los Angeles. Why Los Angeles? That's a story for another time.
Oh, and in case you're wondering, I found out that they're listing my old apartment for $2,800 a month. In order to be able to rent this comfortably, you have to be making at least $48,000 a year. I just don't understand where all these salaries are coming from.
Before I end it, I'm going to leave you with a little advice that I learned from this whole experience. Number 1, get renter's insurance. This is something I was never taught in school. I've heard about it from time to time, but everyone was telling me if I had renter's insurance, which evidently only costs about $100 a year or something crazy like this, there's a chance that I could have got my whole car reimbursed and maybe even more. So hopefully you can take my mistake and learn a valuable lesson from it. Get renter's insurance. Number 2, get in writing all full agreements. This is something that it's pretty common sense, right? But for some reason, I don't know, I trusted my landlords. They seem like cool people, you know. When I asked them about covering the costs that they said they would cover, they pulled the old, oh, nope, it's not in the email trick. I don't know if they're genuinely lying about this or if they genuinely forgot. I don't know.
Hey, what's up? This is Late Night Sleepy Editing Bro here to give you an update on this situation. Okay, so I guess there was a misunderstanding. I thought that I just removed the amount that I paid in towing and storage fees from the last month's rent and everything's all good. But then it turns out that they actually took that out of my deposit. So at this very moment, they haven't paid for anything. They told me that all is not lost yet. I have to follow up with the exact person that promised me he would cover the costs. And if they're still refusing to hold up their end of the bargain, then I guess the only thing that's left is to escalate it. Really don't want to, but yeah, I hate that they're just trying to escape accountability. I can't stand it. But that's the update. They promised to pay for one thing, haven't paid for anything yet. I'm gonna try and continue to pursue this, but for now, back to the video.
But in the end, you have to remember this. You live in the apartment and you're living your life. But to your landlords, this is all just a business, baby. They're just trying to make some money. So protect yourself and get all full agreements in writing, please. And number 3, I didn't really talk about this all that much in this video, but don't put off fixing old cars, especially if you're living on a month-to-month lease. The second car that I own is a collector's car. It's a vintage 1998 E36 M3 sedan, and it currently doesn't run. I've been on and off looking to put a new engine in it, but now I frantically have to figure out what to do with it. I do not recommend. And number 4, always have fresh batteries in your smoke detector. I can't even imagine what would happen if I called the fire department even 5 minutes later. I'm so grateful that the fire alarm went off when it did. And that, my friends, is the end of this story for now. I now have an office set up in LA. Well, I'm in the middle of setting it up, but man, I am so tired. I'm happy it's all over now. I'm happy I get to go back to making YouTube videos. Expect more from me. My famous last words. But yeah, I'd love you if you support your boy. But in the meantime, I'm off to go investigate a spooky mansion with my new vacuum.